Hi and welcome to my van tour. Long awaited, but here we are, we're doing it. This is a Delivery 9 long wheelbase mid-roof van. I bought it brand new. It's a 2024 model and I absolutely love it for the driver experience and also as a mobile home. I have done a video already on the driver experience and I'll put it at the end of this video, a link to it right up here, so you can go and have a look after this video. So what I'm going to do is take you on a van tour first, then we'll go behind the scenes and talk about my choices of material, the big ticket items that I've bought and all the other bits and pieces that go along with it. So I'll walk you through as well how I've built this van, how I've put it all together and the reasons why I've designed it the way I have. Right, so first off the bat we have my fridge cabinet. And underneath, I have the power station. Now the reason why I've put it here is so that I can access it from inside and outside at a good height. Open out that fridge, get a beer out, and the power station underneath. Easy access from outside as well as inside. So I don't have to get into the van to be able to take it out if I need to. I love to have things that are dual purpose, and it's the big reason why I've bought a power station, but I can take it into the house when the power goes out, which I have done multiple times already. Now also inside here I have the charger one, so it works off your alternator when you're driving. Well, let me show you around inside now. As we step into the van, we'll have a look at my ceiling fan, and that is controlled by this remote here, back of the cabinet. Well, this is my kitchen. Start with the overhead cabinets. Just got small compartments so I can put all my bits pieces in there, you know, first aid kits. I've got a nice window in here so that, you know, we can let the light in, as well as fly and mozzie screen as well. Let that nice air come through, or let steam and stuff out as we're cooking in here. That is an acrylic splashback, so that I could have the pictures of my Antechinus. That's the carnivorous marsupial that I study. So they're all my images. And underneath the bench I have my drawers for knives and forks, bits and pieces in that one, and they're all soft close. In this cabinet here have my hot water service and an extra drawer for my knickknacks. And all the cabinet doors have these push button locks, and the two pot drawers under the sink have all my cooking items and cleaning items. And at the back of the kitchen I have my lounge room chair. Now at the end of the kitchen I have a ceiling to floor pantry cabinet with the controller for my hot water service, my instant hot water service, and switches for lights, and also a power point with two USB ports on as well. So inside the cabinet, got plenty of room, and down the bottom we have a rubbish bin and plenty of storage space underneath. At the back of my pantry cabinet, at the side of the bed, I've made a little cubby hole for my iPad and my phone to go into, so I can access them at night. But it's also for charging them up as well. I have the power point at the back, and on the other side I have a window for my power station, so I can get a visual look at what's going on in there. And at night it makes for a really nice soft blue light that lights up the floor beautifully. So if I want to get out of bed to go to the toilet, have a wee, I'm not turning lights on. Floor to ceiling cabinet behind that, so I can put all my clothes in here. And underneath that is more clothes. And continuing down, I have two drawers. Now the problem with drawers being up against other timber here, if you want to take them out, you know, you can't get your hand down there. So this is where being inventive comes in. So I thought if I drilled a hole here, I could get my fingers down there. But that proved to be a little bit harder than I thought it would be. So I've made a little tool that just makes it quick and easy. Just go down, find a little black lever and pull it up. I'm going to take these two drawers out and I'm going to show you where my fuse box is for distributing the power throughout the van. And in we go. So there's the fuse box, properly labelled, and I've also tagged each cable as well so we know where they're going to. Just make it easier later on if we have any dramas. And the two bottom drawers, top one has my power station extension battery if I need it, which is all sealed and made safe so we don't get smoke coming in. And underneath that is a dual purpose drawer. Now this is for getting into my bed, but also, take this off, I have my shoes in there, my boots for hiking, my thongs at the back. So, love having things that are dual purpose. And at the back of the van we have my bed. Now I have it up at this height because I wanted heaps of storage underneath. But we have a window out the back here, let the breeze come in and let the light in as well. Now I didn't want curtains in the van, so I'm very inventive and I came up with something that would work really well as a curtain but also a cushion, so dual purpose use. I call them stuff cushions. So what I do is I just shove it in. Can't reach the other side, but you get the idea. So shove it in. That's actually really nice with my feet. So during the winter months when it's cold, it insulates it really well. So my invention, something that I've come up with, and I've had to learn how to sew to be able to make these, as well as out the back here, fly screen. So when I open the back doors, I don't want mozzies and stuff coming in here. So I've made that up myself using the same machine. They're held up there by magnets, and the mozzie screen is also magnetic opening. So I also have magnetic curtains that go onto each of these panels. Now ceiling lights, I have two over the kitchen, one at the back near the bed, and then another two as you walk in through the side door. And above the driver's seat we have a huge cavity, and that's where I put my jacket, down jacket, rain jacket, one for around the fire at night, broom with a telescopic handle on it so that it packs away nice and small, cover for the front window to keep the sun out and off the dash. And at the back of the van you have my boot space, so I have the water tanks at the back. I have a little rack for my chairs at the top of the wheel arch there. We've got light switches here which I have the lights on, and the other one's for the water pump, which is down there at the front of the water tanks. And I have this cage to stop things getting in and putting holes in the tanks. And just on the right hand side here I have, those keys out, my shower. So I have an external shower. Now shower head sits in that little bracket for convenience while I'm getting myself set up. And I have this bucket and I put it down on the ground, so when I turn the water on and wait for it to get to the right temperature, I'm not wasting water. The water will be in that bucket and I can use that for doing the dishes later on. These curtains that I've made, they have magnets set into the seams as well. They're made from plastic table covers. And to protect my bed from getting wet and water getting underneath in the cargo area, I've got my splash curtain there. And then and we are done. Now no peeking. On the outside of the van, access to our water tanks. instant hot water service unit, and next to that is where the gas bottle lives. So this is the hatch for a boat. So it's fiberglass with a plastic coating on it, and has this beautiful rubber seal to keep the weather out. This is a fiberglass box. So there wasn't one available, so I've gone ahead and made it myself. My design was conceived in the back of a van. So I went to a dealership and asked if I could have a look inside one, and I sat down, and within seconds the whole design that I have in here now went through my head, and thought, right, that's it, that's what I want. It has to be functional and give the feeling of space as well. I don't want to feel crammed in. I did all this 12 months before I even bought the vehicle. So the whole plan was done very, very early. The materials I've used for the floor, the walls and the cabinetry is marine ply. It's the only one that'll go the distance. Melamite and chipboard, as soon as I get a bit of moisture on them, that's it. They just blow up and just start falling apart. The whole van is made of steel. So once you get to temperatures under 10 degrees, you're going to get a moisture build up on the inside of the van, and if there's real high humidity as well, that can give you moisture. Got to think about how long we could have this van for, so 15, 20 years. You really need a material that's going to go distance, and marine ply will do it for us. But we need to seal the back of it. If we don't, this is what's going to happen. Now this side was exposed to the air, and as you can see, that is mould. It'll take a lot of years for it to start sort of rotting, but we need to avoid that. So definitely need to seal all of it, not just what we paint on the front, what we can see. We have to paint the backs of it or seal it like I've done with Boncrete. Boncrete is awesome for all types of applications. It's a glue, and it's also a really good sealer for things like this. Before we do any work in the van, we have to put a moisture barrier down so that our marine ply doesn't touch the steel at all. And what I've used is this material here, which is aluminium foil stuck onto soft rubber, and it has an adhesive backing on it. And we put it over everywhere in the van, the ceiling, the walls, the floor. Now, as far as their claims it being an insulator, it ain't. I've tested it, a sound deadener, just a little bit, but as a moisture barrier, it is friggin' awesome for that. Let's move on to how I went about converting it into a mobile home. Now, first off, I ripped out the original floor, but kept it as a template for my new one. Then I've laid down that moisture barrier. I haven't gone ahead and put any insulation down because of my restriction with height. Because it's a mid-roof, I don't have a lot to play with. So I'm 1.7, and what I have to play with nothing in there, so no original floor, is 1.820. So what I've done is I've put marine ply straight over top of my moisture barrier and screwed it down. Then on top of that, I've put lino down. There's another reason that I wanted to keep the floor as low as possible and not have any insulation on it, is I wanted to reuse this plastic cover for the step, as well as put this cover back down that finishes it off nicely, and I have one at the back as well. Now, moving on from that, I've started construction of the bed because everything works around that. Now, I wanted to have as much height under the bed for a storage area, and I was hoping that I could keep it at around 600 mark, as well as when you're sitting up in bed, that I'm not going to hit my head getting out or whatever. I've used aluminium for my beams, and that's 80mm by 20mm by 3mm thick. It's a little bit over-engineered. I didn't have to have it quite, the 80mm. I could have gone a bit less, but I wanted to have the option to hang things from underneath that would go up to maybe 20 kilos. Now, if I'd have used timber, I would have had to have gone to 150mm thick. So that means we're losing space, and it's all about utilising the space smartly. Now they cover both ends so that you can't see when you walk in the van the underneath of the bed. I've used marine ply again, and the same at the back. I've just made a little cover across, helps to keep the mattress in, but also just finishes it off nicely. And on top of that, I've used these rubber covers that are a U-shape, so they come down the sides a couple of mil, just protect that marine ply from getting damaged. Now it was time to move on to the windows before I could go any further with anything else. I made up some cardboard templates and I marked the top and the outside and the inside of the vehicle, so that when we take this out, we're going to be putting it in exactly the right place. I've marked the exact centre and then 2 extra location holes. I've come up 25 mil at each end. So when we fit this on in place, we can drill those holes right through the panel, then take the template on the outside, use the drill to locate the holes that I've already drilled into the panel on the outside. So once that was in place, I could see, because of these location holes down the bottom, level that I've got on the inside of the van. So standing back once I'd stuck it in place and making sure that it was okay, then I've come back inside the van and I've put up some cardboard shield, stop the sparks flying around and setting the van on fire. Then it was time to install the windows. Now I used a marine silicone. It's also a glue as well. That was to make sure that we were going to have these windows properly sealed for years to come. So that silicone is actually designed for windows going underwater in the sea, so that my windows would stay in place and the silicone would squish in properly into all the gaps. I come up with an idea to clamp it in place using a couple of pieces of timber and a few bolts. With the windows in place, I could move on to insulating the inside of the van. I used insulation bats and I shoved them in wherever I could. So we have that strengthening frame on the inside of the van with columns and all sorts of things. I got my screwdriver and shoved it up as far as I possibly could into every nook and cranny, even using a bit of wood every now and then. There are some places that I just couldn't get to. I used a bit of that expansion foam where I could, but there are some spots that I just haven't been able to get into at all. That expansion foam isn't really an insulator. It works a little bit. Then I moved on to installing my side panels, which are marine ply again, 6 mil. Now I needed the 6 mil to be able to make it mould in beautifully with the way the van is shaped on the inside. Because there's just ins and outs, some nice flows, some a little bit aggressive, especially towards the top of the vehicle. So like that last 150 mils, it sharply comes up straight. And that 6 mil marine ply worked beautifully. Now we get to the part where things get really tricky and very technical, because we have to think about every little detail that's going to happen right through the rest of the build. So if I do one thing, how does that relate to things at the end of the build? Like plumbing, electrical work, it all has to be sorted out now before we start putting all our cabinets in. So the electrical runs through as one of the strengthening beams for the ceiling, all the way through, right through the middle of both cabinets that I have in. So I had to think about that, how all that works and how it distributes throughout the van. Plumbing, can that go in the cavity that runs through the bottom of the vehicle here and do it without upsetting anything further down the line? And also, the battery for the vehicle itself is under the driver's seat. So I have to be able to access that. So that seat has to come back far enough that we can deal with that. Also, where is the seat position for me to be comfortable when I'm driving? Because our kitchen cabinet may impact on that if we don't do it right. Also, if I take this in for servicing and there's someone taller than me, so once all that was sorted out, I could work out what I had left with my kitchen bench. Right from the start, I knew I had to have that kitchen bench space the minimum of 1.2. Otherwise it's going to be squishy and really hard to work in here to cook and do anything. Also, I wanted my pantry cabinet to be as close as it possibly could to 400 wide. So after calculating all this, and with the bed and the space I had left from working out with the seat, I ended up with 1300 kitchen, which is beautiful. How wide could I have my bench top? It ended up being 420 millimeters because I wanted plenty of space in between each of my cabinets to give that feeling of it being more open rather than squished in tight. So now that I had all that sorted out, I had to start thinking about the hot water service, because there's only a certain place that it can go into. So the panel on the outside predicts where I can put that, as well as the strengthening beam on the inside. Also the gas bottle compartment, that has to be calculated into it as well. So I couldn't just make up a kitchen looks nice from the outside and how I wanted everything to work. No, I had to work in with all those other things, the hot water service, everything, the sink too. So now that we have every possible scenario worked out, I made the kitchen cabinet. I made everything myself, including the doors, in my shed. Before I could put my pantry cabinet in and my clothing cabinet, I had to put the ceiling up. So these are wall paneling, pine wall paneling for inside the house. So I had to seal them really good on the inside to make sure that they're not going to rot. Put quite thick insulation bats in to help with that burning sun on the roof. The fridge is a 12 volt and it's very efficient. Now its power draw is 27 watts, so we're talking watt hours with power stations. 27 when it first starts up, then it quickly drops down to 17, and it doesn't take all that long to get the fridge back down to temperature. This is the Blue Eddy AC 200 Max. The thing to note about power stations is they're dramatically affected by their temperature. So under 20 degrees will get good running time out of it because its fan's not coming on, or not coming on much at all, and the fridge will be working efficiently as well. But once we start getting over that 20 degrees, things start to happen dramatically with the drainage of the battery. So the fan starts coming on the power station itself, drawing power. Our fridge will start coming on and off with very short gaps. So just with the fridge alone, go from 7 days at temperatures under 20 degrees down to 3 days if we're like 30 degrees. And with cooking, I've decided to go with an air fryer and try that out because they're so clean. There's only hot air comes out of the back of it. Doesn't have droplets of grease and stuff in it. So it keeps the van clean. I didn't want a gas top in the kitchen bench because of those sort of reasons. So the air fryer does use up a lot of power. So on startup, it's 1700 watts. It's dragging out of here. When I'm using the air fryer, I have to turn the vehicle on and turn the charger one on, so that we're replacing what we're losing, in real time. Otherwise, you're just going to drain that battery far too quickly. And when you're making a cabinet for your power station or putting it in under a seat or whatever, you have to have a look at the rules that are governing power stations inside a van. It has to be fireproof, smoke proof, so smoke and flames can't come into the vehicle. So I've lined it with tin on the inside and on the carriage, and I've also got some seals here so that smoke can't come out at all. And wherever I've siliconed up, like where all the cables come through, I've used high temperature silicon. And at the back I have an air inlet and an outlet. So the outlets let the smoke out and the hot air from the box. And on the outside of the van I have vents for them. Now I have the charger one in here as well. Running the cables out, it just worked out beautifully. I couldn't have asked for any better. So there is a cavity at the back here for the door tracker. So this arm here that runs across this track, but behind it is a hollow cavity. So underneath it's got lots of rubber plugs, so you can actually access and put it through. So it was only a matter of drilling through the flooring that I've put on, so through my marine ply, and coming up and then through the back and in. It was just so easy just to run that cable all the way through. Run the cable up through here, just drilled a hole through the cover for my handbrake, run it through and then under the seat and onto the battery terminals. And I've used a plastic cover so that it blends in, being everything black. You can't see the cables. What an amazing adventure I have had turning this van into a mobile home. It's been amazing. I've had to work in freezing cold conditions most of the time through the winter, and some scorching hot days towards the end of it as well. In the middle of it all, I'd spent so much time working on the van that I hadn't been out the bush much at all, and I got a visit in my shed from a dusky antechinus, wondering where I'd been. So just come to see whether I was all right and still alive. I think I've waffled on enough. Hope you enjoyed my tour of the van and behind the scenes. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel and get more of this amazing stuff, click on my pretty little face just down there in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Hit the little bell, you'll get notification whenever I do anything else. And if you want to go and have a look at all the other mad and crazy things I've been doing in the past, click on my icon right here at the end of this video. Take it to my channel. I talk about photographing and filming wildlife in the forest and open forest environments. Whenever I go on adventures, I always take you with me. And when I buy camera and camera accessories and vans and fridges and stuff, I do reviews on and give you my honest opinion. So go and have a browse. There'll be something there of interest to you, I am sure. Now just remember, if you don't do, you don't get. So get out there and start photographing, filming wildlife, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.